Before we get started, a quick word from our sponsor, Community Financial's President CEO Tansley Stern's podcast, Despite Impossible. Now on to the show.
Studio Lounge interviews brought to you by Typhone, Interface AI, and Boost AI. Welcome back to our continued coverage of the America's Credit Union's Technology and Operations Member Experience Council's conference here in beautiful Anaheim, California, right next to Disneyland, the happiest place on earth. And we have two happy gentlemen right here in the Studio Lounge.
That was a mouthful of a conference name, I have to say.
Looking for a nice segue.
You did well.
And I did well. Thank you. Thank you for that. Jack Smith from Pure IT. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great.
Good
Thank
to see
you for having me.
Yeah, anytime. And then we have Kyle Stutzman from Janusea. How are you?
Very good.
Good. All right.
A little bounce, yeah.
A little bounce there. So, hey, how's the conference going for you guys? Kind of my first question I'm asking folks. How's it going so far?
It's going great.
Kyle?
I got here Sunday
Yep.
and was looking forward to today because we got to be part of an educational session.
That's right.
Yes.
We're talking about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's been great.
Did it
I
already
just got
happen?
here.
Yeah, it just happened.
Okay.
We
So
just
you're fresh
gave the
off.
talk,
Okay,
yeah.
good deal.
And I'm leaving literally, so this is, you're going to laugh, Mike, when we're done with you, I'm
Yeah.
going to go get on an Uber and go to LAX and go home. So I don't have an answer for the conference because I've only been here for an hour and I'm only going to be here for 30 more minutes.
Give us a little feedback for your hour.
It's good. I mean, I've been impressed with how many people are here.
Yeah, there's a lot of people
There's
here.
a lot of
Yeah.
people.
A lot to talk about. What's the buzz in the hallways before we talk about your presentation? What have you guys been hearing? Maybe I can refer to Kyle on that one since Jack's only been here for a couple of minutes.
Well, Kyle's been telling me.
It's just the sessions and the speed rounds were a big part of what I
that was a
think
big
people
deal
enjoy doing. I mean, to see, I think it was 19 demos, quick demos, and the questions and answers. It was good.
5 minutes apiece, and then a 2-minute answer Q&A or something like that.
So that was good. And then there's just a lot of personal questions. Like people are asking detailed questions to vendors and actually talking about transformational things like that we were talking about in our talk, things that they could actually do, partner together, work together, how things integrate, and it's operational and tech people. So that's the nice part.
Yeah.
We don't have these silos happening. You're getting people standing
It's good
shoulder
to
to
bring them together,
shoulder,
right.
talking about how this works, people, process, technology, all of it fitting
Well,
together.
one complements the other, right?
absolutely.
So, yeah, you got to have that for sure. All right, let's talk about your presentation that you just gave. It was entitled Navigating the Digital Shift, Lessons from Fintech and Credit Union Collaborations. All right, I'm going to let Jack
Thank you.
do the
So-
summarization.
Well, wow. Summarize, it was a lot. So what we really focused on was having the strategy, understanding that you as a credit union need to embrace the digital transformation, but how does it impact your board? How do you get the board on board? How does it impact the executive team? How does it impact the employees? And then ultimately, how does that impact your members? And that's really what we focused on, was trying to talk about those 4 stages, because the thing that's important is getting everybody on board with the movement to this. And we were trying to stress to them, you got to have your board members agreeing to it, but you also have the executive team champion it within the organization to get everyone on board, because this is a lot of change that we're advocating for.
And there's a lot of change happening right now, and 2025 is going to be no different for sure. So what are some of these lessons from FinTech and credit union collaborations? What are some of the lessons that you guys provided?
We shared some very specific examples, I think, about the lessons that were being learned, how a leadership team can lead down a path that takes silos that are currently in the institution and brings the leaders together and the employees together. Those specific examples help illustrate to everyone else in the audience kind of how those actual transitions happen. The larger lessons where it's got to be a holistic a view. What do we say? Omnichannel. It's not just omni-channel from a technology perspective, but an omni-channel across people silos.
So like if you think about an organization and a credit union, what we're trying to get everyone to understand is that everyone has to be involved. And then the stakeholders have to be, the CEO has to be the main stakeholder.
Right.
And they have to believe and drive that through the organization, because if you don't, and if the employees don't feel like you're on board with all of these things, then you're going to have trouble getting everyone to move. And to Kyle's other point, which is we need these disparate groups talking to get the solutions to be holistic. So if we walk in, I'll give you an example, Michael, that we gave in the room. We've walked into a credit union where we ask IT, how many applications do you support? And they say 35. And then we tell them, no, you support 152. That's how many you have.
Oh,
right.
And then they go, well, we didn't know about those.
Oh my goodness.
And so that's an example of tech debt that's sprawled out of control, and so the organization is not controlling that,
no doubt.
right? And so that's just one tiny little example of a manifestation of that in a credit union.
We talked about risk and fraud, and with cybersecurity, and how when those two start to bridge together, how transformational it is to both the people's jobs, their understanding of both sides of the house, and then the impact it has on the credit union and the members when you're able to stop fraud before it's happening, when account takeover starts, as opposed to when the money's already gone. So that was a very specific example, and people in the room where there were, I think, there was a whole bunch of people in the room. Only 2 of them had any teams that were actually collaborating in those areas. So we still have these isolations, even though they have innovative tools. They're not sharing them across
the enterprise, the organization, right? So like risk might be focused on fraud, and then cyber's over here focusing on cyber risk. Well, they need to come together. And so, and we gave actually a real case example at a credit union, Union Square, where we took and we got real-time fraud going into an ingestion engine, which is Defense Storm, which is looking for it, and now they can see when a dummy account opens, and then they can isolate it and not ever let it commit the fraud. Right? And so, and that's a little different than the old way where you wait till the next day and look at the batch files and try to determine where the fraud was.
Well, and by then it's too late,
It's too late. The money's gone.
Wow. I'm surprised that there were that few that were, I guess, collaborating. The departments were collaborating.
It's an early stage in our world between risk and fraud. Even though fraud is rampant and people are trying to attack it, they're trying to figure out how to put those things together. I think there were a few more that said, well, we're starting to put them under a single leadership, and that then is starting to have them maybe work together, but until you get them in the same room, it's not working. And then it's until you get them understanding how their tools work together, all of the things have to start transforming, as opposed to just having one item. And we talked about some examples where employee transformation in their work should be just as important as the digital transformation and things we're doing with members. What are the interfaces they have? How long is it taking them to do jobs? So we talked some new account related items. There's three vendors in here that all do new account open, where you just gather 2 or 3 pieces of information, they pull everything else. Completely scary. How can how do they have my social security number, my driver's license, and everything else to open a loan, to make me a new member? There's all kinds of things that, and then in the branch, employees are now using it too, not just new members. And that is available to us, and we have the integrations to make it happen, and yet still most of us put our members through this huge long process where they abandon it because I have to go find all that information, and I don't want to fill out 7 pages of information. But just the impact is very significant when you consider employees and members and leadership bringing it all together.
I think the example you gave that was great in the room, and it was like when think about it this way: when someone in the back office has to do one thing in the core and then go key something else over here in another system.
It's a swivel integration.
We call it the swivel, right? And so you're doing all these, but if you just had it in one interface and you could do it in one, then that would make your life much easier,
It's never just that. How many systems am I logging into, which has its own cybersecurity?
That's a whole single sign-on thing.
It spirals out of control.
And so that all
we have all these tools if we start to align it and make our decisions.
If it's part of the strategy, right? If you're actually doing it up here. The example we also gave in the room, we work with a very large credit union. One of the things we told them organizationally they needed to do was, look, you need to move the architecture and strategy group into the business. And they don't need to be sitting down here with your operations people in IT. They actually need to be meeting with the executive team and understanding what the business strategy is so they can go architect it. And then these people just actually fulfill that vision, right? But if these people aren't here, and they're in here, then now that you have all this fighting and there's this, you need things to be actually to flow the right way through an organization.
A disconnect.
There is a huge disconnect.
Does this surprise you guys in today's day and age, where we've been talking seamless, using that term for so many years now?
Well, first of all, it's better.
And dropping the silos.
It is better.
Okay.
And credit unions are making progress. So never want to say that there isn't hope of this continuing down this path. But no, it doesn't surprise us. I mean, every day, whether it's Janusea working on integrations or whether it's ProT going through assessments and putting together roadmaps, we see it, but we actually then see progress. That's what's fun.
Right.
You partner together there's things that get done. I mean, sometimes it's as simple as the CEO saying, things just don't get done in my institution. Like I have 10 initiatives, we're still on the first one and it seems halfway done, or I have no idea.
I actually hear that
all the
lot.
time. Yeah.
Like, I couldn't tell you how many times an executive will pull us aside and say, I cannot get, do I have 10 projects and none of them are getting completed? And what I have to tell them is, well, because you probably don't have the things in place to make sure that they get done, right? Like, I mean, there's mechanisms that you've got to put in place. And then your people are probably, let's just say it, you probably don't have enough people.
That's what I was thinking.
And so now they're getting pulled in different directions. So they're doing half of that one, a quarter of that one, and maybe some of that.
And they only understand this much of the importance too sometimes, right? I mean, we talked about that in There's Transformation. Employees themselves
need to understand the why.
They need to understand the why and how it impacts them and their members in the institution. Otherwise, they don't just buy into our larger frameworks and great strategy. Well, if I as a leader say this is our strategy, everyone's going to just jump on board.
I think it's the best thing ever.
It doesn't quite work that way. We know that in our own company.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't work for us.
Well, you need to give them something to light the fire under their feet, right?
You know, like I told the room, I said you almost have to think about it as internal marketing.
Yeah.
As you're rolling these projects out.
So true.
And then are you taking a vested interest in that employee that you're moving their cheese so much? You better take a vested interest in them knowing why.
And success and seeing results then furthers that more. People get excited, like, we can do this, and we see progress, and now I see how this impacts my job, I see how it impacts the members.
And then
the next thing goes into a bigger initiative, and that passionate people can get a lot more things done.
Yeah, very infectious in a good way, for sure. But then I think another credit union will see that, and then obviously the credit unions will collaborate, and then that spreads too.
That's
to where more credit unions are doing this.
Yes,
for sure. That's why I went back to the question. Does this surprise you? Because of the collaboration going on in our industry? So that was kind of the foundation of that question.
It's weird though, because I think that so here's the good news, Mike. I think everybody in the industry wants to make the changes, but there's also this inertia that sets in when you've been doing something the same way all the time, right? It's like, and so part of what you're trying to break is almost the mentality of, well, it works.
But it's a mindset.
But I love your question though, because where can we get all the white papers and the success stories so that everyone else catches the same fire? CEOs do share with each other. Credit unions do share what's happening. That should happen more. We have a lot of success happening throughout the industry, but it's still in small little pockets.
But I do see a lot more disruption, which is a great thing.
I think we're going to see a lot more of it in 2025 as well.
100%.
Thanks to folks like you as well. Getting the word out for sure. So All right, guys. Well, anything else you want to share? I mean, I know we could talk about this for the next 2 hours because you guys are very passionate about this, but
conference is well attended, and then once again, the operational and tech leadership being here, and I've seen some CEOs, and it's a good mix of people that are actually collaborating. So that's just if you're not here and you're seeing this, that's a good thing to know.
Get here next year. Indeed. All righty, guys.
Thanks,
Jack,
Mike.
anything else?
No. Just come to Intersect next week if you're in Newport Beach.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Or not next week, but it's the week after that.
2 weeks. Yeah.
2 weeks.
Indeed. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate the time as always. Keep up the good work at your respective organizations.
Thank you.
And we always look forward to the next chat.
Studio Lounge interviews brought to you by TechOME, Interface AI, and Boost AI. A quick word from our sponsor, Community Financial's present CEO, Tansley Stern's new podcast, Despite Impossible.